What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Heroes Hearth Warcraft 3, and welcome back to another replay cast with your boy Kendric. Today, we have two players duking it out between each other. On last Refuge, we have representing Russia and representing the Undead race, a former Fight Night champion known as ShaDai. And his opponent from France is Ze1ko. And Ze1ko we have to celebrate as a premiere here on the Kendric Series because we've never seen him before. So I'm exceptionally excited to see what the Frenchie will bring to the table. Now, let's actually see this matchup here, Undead versus Human, a classic. You know, as an Undead player myself, I tend to be a little bit biased every now and then, and I tend to be defending the Undeads from this how should I say it? This rumor, this prejudice that they cannot lose this matchup, being so eagerly defended by many voices within the Human community. But I think Human, they do have a chance. They do have their solid take in this matchup once they survive the early game, which, especially due to the aggressive happy style of playing, using the skeletons of the Rod of Necromancy to harass the Human, especially while creeping or potentially expanding, you know, that has really caused some massive problems for Human players. But over the course of time, we've seen more and more playstyles do well against that, especially rifles in the mid-game, I think, do particularly well. And if you can control the Undead heroes with Storm Bolts, maybe sometimes even Siphon Mana, depending on what you want to go for, you are good to go. And once you hit that late game stage with a Paladin third, the Paladin hits level 3 with that level 2 Holy Light, you can actually retaliate at the Undead hero nuke with your own Stormbolt Holy Light combo. So a very exciting matchup. I think it's oftentimes just coming down to the early game and how much damage the Human can deflect from the Undead player. Let's see what ShaDai has to offer, though, if he actually sticks to the happy style of playing. We've seen Undeads like Side experiment a little bit and going for Dreadlord instead, and have great success with it. Side in the most recent Heroes Hearth Invitational took down Hawk with exactly that playstyle. Now, whether that was due to the Dreadlord or because of Hawk not feeling 100%, is of course a different question, but still a great success nonetheless. And speaking of Side, by the way, guys, boys and girls, we're gonna have Side on the upcoming Fight Night as the challenger against our Night Elven champion, Neutron, who of course happens to be a teammate of Side here as well. So that's gonna be a banger, an absolute match that you guys should be looking forward to. Now, back to this one though, back to the replay cast. We have ShaDai coming in with a couple of skeletons. Of course, on last Refuge, the creeping pattern of the Human player is fairly predictable. Comes in a little bit too late here with that Death Coil. Unfortunately, that does not go over to the Undead player. So level 2 secured for the Archmage. Had he stolen that one creep, that would have been delayed a little bit more, though. So what is ShaDai going to do? Of course, he's not sitting at full mana. He's not having all of his weapons available because he was using a Death Coil in the green camp here earlier. Speaking of which, though, ShaDai being very aggressive, taking a lot of damage, but he can afford to do so because of the replenishment potion. Giving a little bit of unnecessary skeleton XP over to Ze1ko. Not a fan of that particularly. So he's using the skeletons kind of like weak versions of the Orcish Spirit Wolves, you know, just always right-click them on the Human hero and deal a little bit of extra damage so the Archmage cannot be as aggressive as he normally otherwise could be. First Fiend in the mix, though, but it's way too late right now. ShaDai hasn't really been able to get any value out of this. Also had to use the replenishment potion, so needs to keep the Death Knight as far away from the Archmage as possible so the healing effect won't be interrupted. Now let's take a look at the bases here. Also, we see the Necropolis coming in with a tier 2 upgrade relatively soon. The Human player, not really any slower. Ze1ko is definitely speeding things up and building a blacksmith, the rifleman style, of course. Like we mentioned earlier, inner-fire rifles can still be so deadly, especially towards the later stages of the game, which right now I think Ze1ko is setting up good course onto it. ShaDai, once again, trying to steal some experience. Should actually go for the Water Elemental now, and he does exactly that. Gets one, gets two. Nice double execution. Tries to reach the next replenishment potion, but cannot do so without risking his Death Knight's life or a surround. Speaking of a surround, that might be one for Ze1ko. Can't close the gap, sadly, though. And the Death Knight actually in a lot of trouble, but so is the Archmage. There's one Death Coil to end the man's life, which is why he cannot go for the duel. The Death Knight, so close to dying himself, though. Needs to be careful. Steals it and dies in the process. ShaDai, that was not worth it. At least he didn't get level 2 of this, which in return would have meant that the reviving process would be more expensive and, of course, prolonged quite a bit. But man, what a blunder! And because of that, Ze1ko is now so close to level 3. Getting these early water elementals out is such a boon. So nice. This footman, though, should die. ShaDai gets a kill, but hey, the Death Knight, he doesn't even get the experience. Feels sad, man. But either way, it's a small win, so at least you could say that he traded the Death Knight for a footman, which is still better than trading the Death Knight for nothing. Ze1ko is getting very, very confident here. Level 2 water elementals are nice and dandy, no mistake here. But is this creep camp next to the natural expansion of the undead player just a little bit too much? Did he bite off more than he could chew? 3 fiends now in the mix. It's gonna rain dead men. It's gonna rain dead footmen, and that was basically a given. The Death Knight comes back with enough mana, and he's gonna patiently wait until he gets that juicy coil acid on the ogre, the big fat ogre, and that is a chunk of experience. And finally, 2.5. On the way to level 3. The skeletons here are doing their dirty work. Ze1ko also forgetting about this hurt footman as well. Ze1ko, he played it so well in the beginning, but now he's dropping the ball a little bit. Sometimes when you think the momentum is on your side, you're getting overzealous and overconfident. And as we all know, everyone that has played Darkest Dungeon, overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer. Let's see how much that mistake is going to bite Ze1ko, though. In his base, he's starting to pump out the first couple of rifles, next to the long rifles range upgrade. And priests are coming in. And also the tech to tier 3. Man, is this going to be a fast tier 3 tech or what for the Inner Fire? Inner Fire Rifles Paladin. That is going to be the name of the game. Now, of course, the revival of his level 1 Death Knight devoured a couple of extra resources, which is why the Lich was just a tad bit late. Statues are now coming in, and ShaDai is back in it. Level 3, with all those footmen kills, with all those creep steals, he is back in the game. Let's see. Ze1ko, he's going for some creeping himself here. Let's take a look at some of the items. You can, of course, always track them down with the beautiful new UI of W3 Booster, made by the one and only Warcraft 3 MVP pad. Huge shoutouts to them. Big mana potion. Oh my lord. Oh my sweet Mountain King. The dwarven gods over there in Cosmodown, they watch over you. The greater mana is exceptionally good. Of course, it would have been even better if he had gone for Thunderclap. But of course, that is not really a thing against undeads. We see Thunderclap quite a bit against Night Elves and Orcs. But even there, the Bash is just too good. Especially against Orcs, we've seen humans go for Bash instead, so you can control the Tauren Chieftain a little bit more and prevent the Tauren Chieftain from stomping into your backline by just keeping him stun locked. But, you know, a couple of humans still like to go for the clap. Clapping those cheeks. Speaking of which, by the way, this Mountain King is truly a blessing. Healing wards. Got the invul as well from the shop. So he is ready for adventure. He is ready for all the deeds. Both players just chilling, taking their time. Man, okay, we highlighted some of the good items for the Mountain King, but I guess ShaDai can't complain either. A little bit of a hiccup here, by the way. Instead of microing his units up on the hill, up the ramp, he now has a little bit of a mischance, which makes this creep camp just a little bit more resilient than it needed to be. Stealing a little bit of time. Mana Stone, though, really nice for both. Oh my goodness, he has a greater mana as well on the Lich. Holy schmoly, ShaDai. These players, the two chosen ones, the undead champion against the human paragon, they bring massive tools to the weapon. So they bring massive tools to combat, to the battle. Let's see, who's going to use their mana more wisely then? Goblin Laboratory is getting scouted. Is it going to be Zeppelin Harass, or is it going to be Sappers, or is it just here to have high ground and vision? Oh, nicely done! High ground and vision and snipes a worker. Truth be told, he invested 1 coil and 1 Nova for it. But still, a funky kill nonetheless, and here goes the Zeppelin Harass. ShaDai activating damage on multiple fronts. He now, of course, knows what his opponent is up to. His opponent just withdrew a couple of workers and is trying to expand. So what better moment to harass the main base with a Crypt Lord as well in the Impale and get some casualties. Gets another kill and flies the Zeppelin the hell out. Needs to get the hell out of dodge here because those rifles in the tower is no bueno. Is he counter-expanding? Yes, ShaDai is counter-expanding. So he's using this aggression with a Zeppelin as a distraction maneuver to tie Ze1ko in his base and basically get his own base, his own second base up. Of course, a little bit of speed building going on here for Ze1ko. So ShaDai is not flying over. I think that's maybe what Ze1ko was expecting as well. You know, the Zeppelin already being on its way to cancel this building process. But no, mind game successful here for ShaDai. Instead, he was hiding the Zeppelin in the corner the entire time and gets more damage done in the main base. Now, even with a destroyer in the mix, devours the water elemental, slurps it in, and activates extra damage now onto those workers that have to evacuate the base. There's no corona happening. The sickness is the undead plague. And now he might be flying over. He's hiding from vision all the time. What Ze1ko could have done here maybe is send a unit to this goblin laboratory and just scout over the wall. Of course, that would be a little bit costly, but it could give him a little bit of an edge to know what ShaDai is up to. Ah, that's so smart, Ze1ko. He left a water elemental back at home to shoot at the Zeppelin when it's about to approach once again. And even a rifleman there as well. Ah, the anti-air gun is ready. The defenses are standing, and ShaDai needs to be so careful now. Of course, his own expansion is running, so both players are very liquid, very cash heavy. Man, does he have a TP, by the way, ShaDai? Yes, he does. So even if the Zeppelin were to be destroyed right now, he could still have a means of escape. Oh, speaking of means of escape, I think the Death Knight ran out of it. Has to TP. Oh my goodness. Left alone, abandoned by the army. And TP's out to safety. So the harass has been defended, but look at ShaDai. He's not done yet. He's going for a multi-prong attack here, sending the main force into the main base and having a squad of mean ghouls ravaging in the worker line of the expansion, forcing them all to retreat. So well played. That's actually something that Grubby and I noticed when ShaDai was playing in the Fight Night as well. And according to his own estimation, ShaDai said he wasn't the strongest player in terms of micro, so he's not on the same level as Happy in that regard, simply because he's not a full-time pro gamer. However, what he thought was his own greatest strength, ShaDai that is, it was his map awareness and his decision-making, and his basically prediction skills of what might be the next best macro move. And I think with these double-prong attacks, you can see exactly that quality just brighten up and shine. Always on the map, always trying to accomplish something, whether it's harassing the expansion or getting some creeping done at the same time. But also, we gotta give a lot of kudos to Ze1ko, who proves to be very good at multitasking, you know, having water elements at the ready when it comes to defending all the time, building additional towers, having his army near the root of crisis. That is a very admirable skill, and I gotta give Ze1ko, our French player, a lot of kudos. I think it's very enjoyable to watch him play this. Now, both players actually doing the simultaneous creep, both going for the thickest of items on Last Refuge here. So who's going to have the better RNG? We have Legion Doomhorn, very much a waste, because you already have a better version built into your Death Knight, of course. And what is the human player going to get here? Gets the Kodo drums. The Warsong battle drums. Can you believe it? 10% damage on those riflemen. That could single-handedly be a game changer, ladies and gentlemen. Inner Fire already adds a little bit of extra damage, plus the aura is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So item luck a little bit shifting into the human's favor right now. Paladin is being crept here. He could have possibly done solo creeping here by removing the Archmage or the Mountain King. Another harass going down. By the way, workers are falling and the TPs are triggered on both sides. Lich is surrounded. The burst damage is real, but it was not good enough. Man, that would have been so sick if Ze1ko had landed a little bit extra damage or had TP just a second earlier. Man, that Lich kill on the level 3 Lich would have been nice. He actually has a Invul Potion now as well. The Mana Stone still doing so much work on the DK. So much work. Mana Stone, hands down, one of the best items in the game available, especially for undeads. Man, ShaDai, he's going in close. He's sending in the skeletons to scout and see what's going on here, while the human player decides to check the next red camp. And basically because of ShaDai's playstyle, you know, with the constant harass and Zeppelin drops, Ze1ko was not really able to leave his base and scout what's going on too much. So only now, I think, did he find out about the expansion. And of course, he was also not sure if ShaDai had already crept the red spot here right next by. So he's going to kill a lot of acolytes. And I think both players are just racing to each other's bases. And they're trying to take down the expansion. The human player, of course, in a straight-up expansion-based race, always a little bit in favor because of Inner Fire at this stage right now, and of course the Enchanted Gold Mine, the Haunted Gold Mine, excuse me, not nearly as tanky as a Town Hall. So he's going to take that down. He took all the acolytes and is now comfortably going to teleport back home. And both players trading TPs. However, oh my god, the Lich this time around. Oh my goodness. ShaDai, cool, calm, and collected. Not even blinking with an eye here. Not even using the Lesser Invul. Ay, ay, ay. But yeah, this is now really an uncomfortable spot for ShaDai, I would say, because whereas the expansion for the human is still running, his own expansion is completely razed to the ground. No more Acolyte, no more Gold Mine, just a sad, lonely necropolis. Also left a statue here. Cannot afford to forget about that. Now, you can't forget about that. If he had one statue here, maybe there was a risk of him forgetting about it, but not having a statue in your army as an undead, that should normally never happen. I like this move, by the way, by ShaDai, trying to cheekily expand next to the human's location. Because oftentimes, you know, when you're in the dead angle, this is where your opponent will never scout. Because he doesn't suspect it. Alright, here we go. Finds out, of course, Ze1ko, that is. He finds out about this expansion immediately. And ShaDai has now Banshees in the mix. Master Banshees, mind you. So there could be a little bit of possession action going on against potential knights that could be added. But I don't think Ze1ko is in a position to add knights at this point. Very low on lumber. Tries to reinforce its expansion right now. And just adds more and more rifles and more priests. Rifles sitting at 1-0 upgrades. Could maybe invest a little bit of extra money into that. For now, ShaDai, I don't think he wants to go for possession because there's no knights. So instead, he's going to go for full-blown anti-magic shell. Of course, the heroes especially need that against the heavy spell damage coming in from the priests. Sorry, excuse me, not from the priests. Coming in from the paladin. The other component of a human army that starts with a P. And the Mountain King. You want to be protected against Stormbolt damage. You want to be protected against Holy Light damage. So that's why you want to do it. Nova coming in, rattling nicely into the backline of the human army. A crippling stun coming in from the Crypt Lord as well to follow it up. But is this too much army? Is this too much bulk for the undead heroes to manage? Going into heroes focus a little bit now. The Paladin looking good though. The Mountain King can be healed until the end of time. Now finding some kills. The Lich, ever so important. Once again, the carry of the undead army. Can more healing be applied to the Fiend? Yes, it can. And with the help of the undead base, of course, the human player Ze1ko realizes, I do not want to fight here. I do not want to lose more of my units unnecessarily, and especially I don't want to feed more experience into ShaDai's hero pool. Speaking of which, though, that Paladin level 3 is going to be so important. You need that level 2 Holy Light to actually turn on the heat onto the undead heroes, despite anti-magic shield being just such a pain to deal with. So much mana available, by the way, still on the Mountain King, on the Lich. You can really tell that both players decided not to go all in yet, because neither of them has used the greater mana. That's always a sign of carefulness, I would say. Okay, Crypt Lord going in. Is a little bit low on mana. Doesn't actually have an Impale. So that is certainly a bad factor for ShaDai to be considered in this fight. One Fiend goes down. Two Fiends go down. Can he get some counter kills onto the backline here? Beautiful micro by Ze1ko, taking care of every single rifleman individually. And ShaDai, this is his last effort. This is his last-ditch try to finally break this line of the humans and get into this expansion. The statue, though, about to fall. Nice micro, a little bit of mana pumping and coming through. So many destroyers, need to be careful. There's so many rifles still available. But the Novas are starting to hit, and the Lich damage combined with the Abomination Plague Cloud, that is really going to be the carry. Takes one out, takes two out, double kill on the priests. Can he make it a triple, baby? Gets the rifleman, and ShaDai, he's driving like a warm knife into a cold butter box. He's driving the human army away from himself. And the humans are once again the carry right here. Where the units can't do it, the heroes have to step in. Paladin level 3, it was so neat. It has a scroll of healing, actually. Now on top of that, gets another rifle, finds another one. Oh, baby, these undead heroes are out of control. Someone's got to stop him. Can Ze1ko do it, though? He still has the economic advantage. Don't forget about that. But he needs a little bit of extra oomph. He only has one barracks production. Maybe with that expansion, a second barracks would have been in order and helping right now. Yeah, he needs to replenish this. ShaDai, does he have an expansion backup? Yes, he has. This one, though, not standing. 2 base undead. This might be it, ladies and gentlemen. These towers are the last line, the last hold. Level 3 finally here for the Paladin. Can that make a difference? One Fiend goes down, denied, though, with the Sacrificial Pact. Very nicely done here. It's just too much, I think. ShaDai at this point, he is rattling through. Gets one rifle after the other. The Water Elementals are basically counterproductive at this point for Ze1ko. Hold the phone. Hold that phone. Is the Death Knight actually going to do it? No. He takes a little bit of sacrificial blood into his veins and drives the health back into his pool. And now it's basically only thing left is Hero Focus. Hero Focus tries to call the Banshee, but does it even matter anymore for Ze1ko? His main hero is dead. The Archmage is no more. Loses one rifle after the other. The Shorp, of course, will be a little bit of a beneficial aspect here. But no, interceptions being made here onto the reinforcements, and ShaDai is everywhere. Although he said about himself that he didn't have the greatest micro, he's certainly on point here. The Crypt Lord. There goes another Impale. Actually not as effective as it could have been, but it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter. GG is called by the French player. And this was a great performance once again by ShaDai, showing how strong the late game undead heroes can become. Now, what could Ze1ko have maybe done differently? Maybe Knights would have been in order, but then Banshees were already there. It's really hard. It was really hard for Ze1ko. I think he had the means to take the game, but ShaDai's harassment throughout the entire game was just too good. It crippled the economy. It took out so many workers over and over again, feeding that experience into the heroes that he lacked in the early game. I think Ze1ko did everything right in the beginning. And ShaDai actually not paying attention to his Death Knight made a couple of blunders, but I really think it all came down to that greedy creep spot at the Undead Natural expansion, you know? He bit off more than he could chew. Got a little bit too ahead of himself, and ShaDai punished this mercilessly. We hope you guys enjoyed this game, and if you did, feel free to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to Heroes Hearth Warcraft 3 for more content in the future. There's going to be more replay casts, more fight nights, and some replay breakdowns with pro players that we've got planned up and stored for you in the future. So don't go anywhere, and I'll see you in the next time.